Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure Kevin McCarthy is a good human being. I'm sure he's a good person, but he's a terrible, terrible Speaker of the House. You cannot have a Speaker of the House who teams up with Liz Cheney or anyone else, any Democrat, any never Trump Republican. You can't have a Republican Speaker of the House who is basically Paul Ryan, but, a little friendlier towards Trump. You can't have that. Nancy Pelosi, not one day that summer, brought up the $1 to $2 billion in property damage, according to Wikipedia, and 19 lives lost, and 14,000 arrests, according to Wikipedia, that summer. Do I understand and support the cause of why people were demonstrating that summer? Yes, I do. I support law enforcement, but I understand that in any industry there needs to, in any aspect of American life, there are very bad individuals or individuals that do bad things, and there needs to be accountability or reform. But 14,000 arrests, $1 to $2 billion in property damage, countless law enforcement officials who were injured and risked their lives protecting people, protecting property. And you had CNN saying fiery but peaceful. Did Nancy Pelosi ever state, hey, wait a second, this is getting out of hand? We need to talk to the Democratic politicians who helped further this, get in people's faces. No, she didn't. There's not a chance in the universe that Schumer or Nancy Pelosi or any Democrat would bring up Hunter's emails, or Joe saying we'll withhold $1 billion in loan guarantees until a prosecutor is let go. There's not a chance in the universe that would ever happen. Or Clinton with private servers and top secret intel. Democrats don't care. You have a lieutenant governor arrested or indicted. Democratic donor sent to prison for decades for atrocious, heinous crimes. You have Andrew Cuomo winning an Emmy. I'm not making anything up. He won an Emmy from Hollywood. They live in their alternate universe where they will never in a million years admit that anyone on their political side is wrong, corrupt, committed crimes. And they were bailing out people from jail. I think Kamala Harris was doing that. Where's the condemnation? But now you have here, Daily Beast, we have a lot more. New York Times reporters tease additional McCarthy audio. There's more. The man teamed up with Liz Cheney, whose father thrust the entire world into chaos. The Bush-Cheney Republicans, the Bush-Cheney-Rumsfeld Republicans, the same people who are now the Lincoln Project, who are retweeted by liberals, wonderful, amazing, highly educated, morally superior liberal Democrats who opposed the Bush-Cheney years, but now retweet them. So that makes them, of course, the biggest hypocrites on the planet. But they're opposing Trump, Tulsi Gabbard. Bernie Sanders is no, they don't oppose Bernie Sanders. He's part of the system. He's part of the same corrupt system. Are you kidding me? He was cheated. He doesn't say anything about it. He's part of the whole thing. He funnels votes back into the Democratic Party. Just like Liz Cheney funnels disgruntled conservatives or whatever, people who don't like Trump's personality, into the Democratic Party. Hit subscribe to this channel right now, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if we hit 196,000 subs yet, but we're almost at 196,000 subscribers. You could be the 196,000 subscriber. Let's get to 200,000 subs. I have a very important segment on Netflix and hedge funds and the impending stock market collapse and a global, not only recession. Germany is already heading into a recession. They're basically they're in a recession now. The EU, this country, we're all going to head into a recession. Why? I explain in the stock market crash channel. The experts, the adults in the room, decided to end economic activity, and of course that caused skyrocketing inflation along with their wonderful policies. Skyrocketing inflation, oil prices, gas prices through the roof, geopolitical nightmares, but they will never take responsibility. But hit subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel below in the pinned comment. Hit subscribe to this channel, and hit subscribe also to my satire and comedy channel. That's below, Indict and Imprison 45. It's hilarious. I pretend to be one of the MSNBC pundits, basically. But here, we have a lot more. Not only was he on, if you're Kevin McCarthy 2 years ago and you're calling Liz Cheney, you're being taped. This isn't rocket science. You don't have to be Einstein to realize you're going to be taped. You're going to be recorded. Okay? If you're an average Joe and you're at a bar someplace and you're, Eric Swalwell or Kevin McCarthy or whatever, and a gorgeous, beautiful woman comes up to you, and she has a Russian accent or an accent of another country that perhaps is a geopolitical rival. She's not after you because of your personality. She's not talking to you because you're good looking. Maybe there's some other reason. So if you're in politics, maybe you should understand that, perhaps people are going to take advantage of you in some way. Like, maybe record your phone calls, genius. And there's already a story with Eric Swalwell and a political operative of another country. Romantic relationship, possibly. Who knows? Anyway, he teamed up with Liz Cheney, blaming Trump, of course, for what took place, which I don't agree with. Yes, horrible day, but nobody says it was mostly peaceful, right? The same Democrats are like, oh, mostly peaceful, mostly peaceful. They're the ones hiding in their houses all throughout that summer because there were curfews in every major city, and they're saying it's mostly peaceful. But then they look at what happened. Oh, my God, Trump. Oh, no. These people are, they live in their own fantasy world where only bad things are caused by Trump and no other bad things take place. But Kevin McCarthy, like I said, he might be a good human being, but Speaker of the House, you never see Nancy Pelosi try to kind of give an olive branch to AOC or to Bernie Sanders. She crushes them, and they fall in line very quickly. If you don't fall in line and you're a Democrat, you're either getting investigated immediately or you're accused of being an operative of the Kremlin. Or you just get cheated like Bernie Sanders, and then you say, thank you, may I have another? May I have some more? This is fantastic. Let me get cheated again. And he's going to run again in 2024. Here's a newsflash. He's going to get cheated again. Maybe we've learned the past two primaries that they don't have a primary. Their attorneys even stated they don't have a primary. But anyway, they enjoy. Democratic voters on the far left, on the left, enjoy getting cheated. It's like it fulfills them, makes them feel happy. They can just fall back in line, vote Democrat, because otherwise they'd lose their friends and family members and people won't talk to them. Because it's like a gigantic cult. Thank God I'm no longer a part of it. Yeah, I'm voting for Trump in 2024, DeSantis or DeSantis in 2024. Hopefully they run together. If it was Romney, which it would never be, I'd vote for Tulsi Gabbard if she ran. But again, I'm voting for anybody who's opposed by the Lincoln Project. I'll leave it at that, but I explained in the Federalist why Bernie 2016 supporters should vote for Trump. If you can't understand, read the article. But if you still can't understand, that's not my problem, or it's not anyone's problem. It's the person who can't understand why a Bernie 2016 voter would want to vote for Trump. That's the person who lacks, basic logic, critical thinking skills. But anyway, I can't explain how Kevin McCarthy, I can't explain the man. First of all, he said that he believed that Trump would get impeached in the Senate. The Senate was never going to have 66 or 67 votes to impeach Trump after he was already out of office. Number one. Number two, the Attorney General of D.C., the Mayor of D.C., the Federal Bureau of Investigation never claimed or never wanted to indict Trump for anything. That's why I have the Indict and Imprison 45 channel. Okay, and he stated the word peacefully, and if you look at the transcript or if you look at the interaction between Ted Cruz, who is marginally better than Lindsey Graham, if you look at the interactions between Ted Cruz and an official from the Federal Bureau of Investigation in a congressional testimony, during congressional testimony, we don't know how many federal officials were among those people. I'll leave it at that. Okay, I'll just, leave it there. See, we can't talk about these things. We can't talk about much. But I'm finding a way to be hopefully amusing and interesting. Also, like I said, hit subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel. Hedge funds are very likely going to lead to or expedite a global catastrophe. And I talk about that in my Federalist article below in the pinned comment. Please go ahead and read that. You can't have a Speaker of the House, and I don't want to hear like, oh, well, there are people who don't like Trump too much. Those people need to be kicked out of the Republican Party. Anyone who doesn't fall in line within the Democratic Party doesn't have a political career. That's it. They don't have a political career. So when you hear this nonsense, oh, Republicans like to cancel each other. I mean, no. You don't have a political career on the left. I mean, I remember, if you don't vote for the nominee, you're like excommunicated, you committed blasphemy and heresy, you're like the worst person who's ever existed. Like, there were hit pieces written on me simply because I was like, I'm not going to vote for Clinton. I'll just write Bernie Sanders in. This was like 6 years ago now. And I should have just said I'm voting for Trump because I wanted a great economy and a great foreign policy. That's what Trump gave. Categorically, life was better without a shadow of a doubt. You'd have to be a complete imbecile to think that record highs in inflation and gas prices and energy prices heading into a recession, geopolitical nightmare in Europe is better than any of the Trump years. And more people lost their lives the first year of mashed potato brains in his administration than the last year of Trump. So spare me the nonsense regarding, Trump and this and that. It's like, no. Look at the data, but whatever. We can't talk about that either. Can't talk about anything. Oh, and hopefully Elon Musk will just purchase Twitter and reinstate Trump like I talked about yesterday, which I think he will. It's game over if Democrats do not see the outrage machine. That doesn't work now. Like, I do think that President Trump needs to tone it down. I would like Donald Trump to tone it down a tiny bit, because if he gives like the average morally superior, wonderful, highly educated, beautiful liberal Democrat lives off indignation. They gain spiritual sustenance from being indignant. It's like a narcotic for them. They love it. So he can't simply take a gigantic bat and bash the hornet's nest of liberal indignation all the time. But if he's on Twitter and is able to voice his viewpoints, and other conservative pundits that have been kicked off are back on Twitter, that's a good thing. If Twitter is a place where dialogue and discourse, debate and discussion flourishes, and it's not, you're outside the mainstream and your views are harmful. What they really mean is your views can actually take away from our views because maybe the merits of your arguments are better. Oh my God. We need to ban you and suspend you. Like the New York Post with the Hunter Biden story. With Hunter's emails. Okay, but anyway, you can't have Kevin McCarthy side with Democrats ever. You can't have a Speaker of the House. We already had Paul Ryan, who was basically totally fine with Richard Burr and other Republicans investigating Trump. Then the Republicans barely lose the Senate, and they say, it's Trump's fault. No, it's not Trump's fault. You investigated a Republican president for 4 years. What did you expect? What on earth did you expect? What did you expect? You had Paul Ryan. And then Kevin McCarthy was like, Kevin McCarthy is the Lindsey Graham of speakers. He's like, you need a Jim Jordan. You need a Rand Paul. You need a Ron Johnson. You need somebody. Well, he's in the Senate, but those are senators. But you need a Jim Jordan. You need somebody who does not care about media, who isn't afraid. Like, take Jimmy Kimmel, for example. Without every single possible advantage from late night talk show hosts, Jimmy Kimmel is an example. You need a speaker who will say, okay, well, you know what? How about your The Man Show? How about everything you did in The Man Show? How about all the offensive things, skits you did, where you had to you were forced to apologize? All the things that you could look at Jimmy Kimmel and you could see that he is a huge mouthpiece, just helping prop up the Democratic Party. You need a Speaker of the House who can look at these celebrities and say, okay, well, you know what? You are a hypocrite, and here's why. Here's a compilation. Jimmy Kimmel the other day did a compilation of Trump or Hannity, and then would cut up, slice and dice. It was like a comedic thing where Hannity was talking about mashed potato brains, our president, but he would then, disparage Trump. But you could do the same thing with Jimmy Kimmel and everything, or Howard Stern, or any of these celebrities. You need a Speaker of the House who could do that, who could say, okay, here are clips from The Man Show. Here are clips of that horrible, horrible skit that you did years back. I don't even want to get into it because it was so horrible. Here are things that you've done where the left could cancel you easily. And, that's just one example. You need a Speaker of the House who could do that. You need a Speaker of the House who can actually stand up to media. If media was ever forced to look at the mirror of themselves, it would be game over. But the Republicans don't do that. They're petrified of media. They're petrified. They're frightened beyond belief. It's not difficult. These people are, everybody from Jimmy Kimmel to Robert De Niro, they're all Andrew Cuomo. They're all Chris Cuomo. It's just, if you look in the mirror, you see Andrew Cuomo getting an Emmy, and you have 13,000 to 15,000 lives lost in New York because of your decision making. It's not difficult. That summer, you can look at and say, okay, let's compare what Trump presided over and what Democrats presided over. And if the rebuttal is, well, the cause was different. Yeah, yes, the cause was obviously worthy to demonstrate that summer. But there's no cause worthy of what, $1 to $2 billion in insured property. Well, who knows what the uninsured damage was? It's in the billions more. And you had Fire But Peaceful and CNN journalists with the building in flames. So, there are no greater hypocrites than the Democratic Party or wonderful, morally superior liberal Democrats. And there's no greater hypocrites on the planet. But you just can't have this. You can't, my God almighty, you can't have this. You can even bring up Bernie Sanders getting cheated. There's a million things you could bring up. Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld, and all the times the intelligence agencies were wrong. It's like endless. The interaction between Ted Cruz and that government official. It's endless. You could bring up. But see, the Republicans, they fight with one arm tied behind their back, and I'm not a Republican. I'm not anything. I was a lifelong Democrat. I'm not affiliated with any political party now. But it's you just can't, if they have more with Kevin McCarthy, and there should be no way that he resumes his role as Speaker of the House. Zero way. Anyway, give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe to this channel. Hit subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel right now in the pinned comment. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much. I'll be back in about an